Has journalist Olivia Nuzzi been canceled for criticizing President Joe Biden? So the PR for the New York Magazine reporter's new show with Bloomberg was allegedly canceled over her criticism of Joe Biden in an article that she wrote in July, a great article that we discussed on the show, called "The Conspiracy of Silence to Protect Joe Biden." Now, according to Semaphore reporter Ben Smith, Democrats online killed the flashy rollout of Nuzzi's new show, persuaded her employers not to promote it, it's called Working Capital, by waging a campaign to get her in trouble for past statements.
Now, he said, quote, "The interview show announced with great fanfare in July wound up being unceremoniously released on Bloomberg's television network and is available online." Nuzzi confirms that plans for a higher profile rollout of the Bloomberg Originals bet were abruptly scotched after a Nuzzi article about the conspiracy of silence around Joe Biden's age.
Now, Democrats on X called her racist and demanded that she be fired from Bloomberg. Many of these claims based on tweets she sent during the Obama years back in 2014 that were obviously jokes aimed at people who didn't like Obama. She had tweeted, "Kenyan anti-colonial shows teeth to small child, happy Pi Day." That's making fun of the criticism of Obama from racists, not an endorsement of the racist criticism. Olivia Nuzzi, whom I know socially a little bit, is a, liberal mainstream reporter, but who does criticize both sides and does good reporting on the Democratic Party as well as Trump, and had produced that really great piece about how Joe Biden's inner circle absolutely knew he was in decline and absolutely hid that fact from the American people and persuaded gullible friends in media that everything was fine. It was an important, great work of journalism that criticized, the media's own side, the Democrats, whatever. And in response, pro-Biden people tried to get her in trouble. They didn't get her fired, but they got her employer to kind of, instead of doing a major promotion for the show, just sort of like drop the show, unannounced, to totally change tactics, because she dared report. She did the thing journalists are supposed to be doing, right? Calling truth to power. That sort of whole thing. Nope, that's only if you're being critical of Republicans, of Trump, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know much about, it's Nuzzi, isn't it? I'm saying Nuzzi, that's not right.
Olivia Nuzzi.
My Italian ancestors are upset, Robbie.
Yes.
But no, I think it's something that happens in media. I would agree that it makes sense. The article is the reason this happened. They don't change up their strategy for no reason at all. You'd be surprised what happens in backroom conversations, and making people a little bit upset by expressing views that maybe have nothing to do with what the show is covering is absolutely a reason some executive at Bloomberg was upset and directed them to remove some of the marketing resources that were allocated towards the show elsewhere. And then they say, "Oh, looks like no one wants to watch your show. We're going to cancel it." It happens, I'm sure, all of the time. I mean, just my small career in media has taught me that a lot of decisions are made because of the personal preference of someone in a position of power. And if Olivia Nuzzi is not doing a good job, being a darling of the establishment, she'll quickly realize what that means for a journalist's career. I mean, that's why you see so many people getting their news from alternate outlets, from independent media, from people who have ideas and cover stories outside of the mainstream, because it gets kind of boring. And so I think it's a losing media strategy on top of being a very common one that Bloomberg did this.
Yeah, I wanted to read what Olivia Nuzzi herself said about the situation. So she wrote this, or she said this: "When I write something that agitates the right, I am accused of being a liberal activist. When I write something that agitates the left, I'm accused of being a conservative activist. The difference is that mainstream media organizations tend to ignore bad faith campaigns against reporters led by the right," she observed. "I have no illusions about massive corporate media entities and their tolerance for even the faintest murmurs of a PR crisis, so I can't say I was surprised, but I was disappointed. I really believe that if you want to live in a world which is forgiving and where people hold even those they disagree with to the same standards they wish to be held, you can't cave to mob pressure as a means to protect yourself, even when it would be a lot easier to do. That's how this type of culture is formed and maintained. As individuals, we get to decide if we think it's worth enduring a little pain to fight against it." So she is not happy about this decision, and she shouldn't be. This is absolutely payback for shining a light on the nefarious behavior of Biden's inner circle, trying to lie to the American people. Karine Jean-Pierre working tirelessly to convince you that if you were worried about the president, the candidate, Joe Biden, in those videos that showed him, kind of disoriented and not knowing where he was going, that you were imagining that was part of a, manipulated videos, and everything was fine. Everything was all fine up until the moment at the debate when it was undeniable that something rather curious had happened with Joe Biden, maybe in recent months and weeks, maybe for longer, who knows, but that he was not capable of running for president, maybe not capable of serving as president, even though he continues to do so.
Yeah, I think that period of history we're going to look back on and laugh. I mean, those press conferences, it's her job. It's Karine Jean-Pierre's job to defend the administration. That is what she signed up for. One of the worst jobs in American politics is to be the spokesperson of really any division of government. I've said this before, but I think people are coming around and realizing just how bad the revolving door between the establishment and media really is. I saw trending on Twitter, finally, people who have realized who Oliver North really is, someone who was caught in the Iran-Contra scandal, illegally selling U.S. missiles to Iran, now on Fox News commentating on precisely how Iran should not have any access to missiles. And so people are realizing that these same guys go on as military analysts on mainstream news networks to say precisely whatever the establishment wants them to say with no logical consistency whatsoever. It's just the poison of our politics today. You can go on and say, I'm against an income tax. I think that instead we should have a property and wealth tax. And even the most progressives, most people who are most progressive on the left side of the political spectrum will look at that and say, well, we can't get rid of the income tax, and not put any thought into it and just have a knee-jerk reaction to these policies. And we're just at a point where if something sounds different from what the people in someone's political camp think, they have this visceral reaction to defend it despite not really understanding it. And I think that's what's got to change. And so even, the establishment people are victims to it. So maybe now that people who are more establishment journalists, Robbie, are seeing that this is a problem, maybe now finally we'll see some change.
Yeah. It's just amazing to me because the media does complain when, when right-wing people bring up past tweets or something from mainstream or progressive people, then it's how dare they're sicking harassment on this is right-wing harassment campaign, which again I think is bad. But then when the Democratic Party does it, it gets little attention. Is not usually necessarily called out, but very good for Semaphore for doing that. I saw Mediaite also covered it, and of course we're covering it here. That does it for us today on Rising. Great having you with us, Jessica. Where are you in the world right now?
I'm in Iowa, sunny Iowa, the beautiful Midwest.
Well, we said farewell to Brat Summer. I think there was an official declaration from what is her name? Help me out.
Charlie XCX.
That's it.
But we're celebrating sweet corn season here in the Midwest. It's a little bit good to be outside of the swamp in DC. I was getting bit by mosquitoes in the middle of the day in downtown.
Can't have that. Well, we would hope to lure you back to the district sometime soon. In the meanwhile, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we are now available anywhere you can find podcasts, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.